What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of the ATL Sports HQ Live podcast, the podcast for the fans, by the fans. My name is Bob Lancaster. I'm Bull and Bob on Twitter.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Phil Beasley. You can follow me at _ATL Phil on Twitter and Instagram.
I'm Daric Clemens. Follow me on Twitter at dclemens.
All right, guys. Let's start it off with the Atlanta Hawks. 2-5 to start the year. What are the things you like and dislike so far to start the year? Phil, go ahead.
Definitely, Trae Young has been a positive so far. His shooting has been much higher than I expected this early on. His court vision, ball handling, and just the passes he makes are far more advanced than I thought he would be at this point in his career. You know, I thought he would be a turnover machine. So far, I thought he'd be shooting like 25%, 20% from three, just chucking, you know, a lot of turnovers, a lot of fouls, just getting blown by on defense. Pretty much every facet of the game of his has been impressive to me. He's had several offensive explosions. You know, there's been nights, of course, that he's struggled. I mean, come on. He's a rookie. He's like the same size as me. There's going to be nights where he struggles, of course. But overall, I'd give him a solid B+ so far for his performance. You know, 7 games into the season. You know, he's had several 20-point games, a 35-point game, like a game where he just, I mean, you can almost say he put the team on his back in the fourth quarter of the Dallas game, even though he couldn't find his shot to save his life. You know, he won us that game.
Yeah, I think I told you, at the beginning of the year, I said he's just as liable to go off for 40 in a game as he is to go off for like 6 or 7 in a game. It really just depends on, how his shot is going. I really thought that he was overlooked a lot at Oklahoma because he was the only option there. And so, he was double, triple teamed, especially later on in the year when he was really starting to struggle with his shot there at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I can't lie. I was one of those haters. I hated the pick. I went off that night. I'm sure most of y'all remember that.
Yes. What are you not liking so far, Phil?
His teammates can't catch his passes. His teammates aren't ready for his passes. They not on his level.
I would say he looks definitely like the best player on the team right now.
Mm-hmm.
With John Collins out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when Collins gets back what what kind of chemistry those two can put together. I think having the two young guns together, and like you said, the veterans especially, just they seem to have really fallen off. And I think it's just because they're not used to his explosiveness. But I think John Collins, when he comes back, is I think those two together will make themselves better. So
yeah,
all right. And Daric, what are you liking so far this year?
I was a big fan of him when we drafted him, but I'm actually personally surprised of how well he's been playing. I thought he would get off to a slow start because the change of the game from the college level to the NBA and his size differential. But I think he's played well. I mean, he has to clean up some stuff. Sometimes he has too many turnovers, but it really hasn't been too bad for a rookie. And he definitely looks like, I'd say top 2 rookie right now. Luka above him.
If you had to make a early pro comparison, I'm not a big comparison guy myself, but if you had to compare him to someone right now, who would you compare him to?
Man, I don't even know.
Yeah. I mean, he's to me, he doesn't come off as a typical point guard. I guess I see him more as like a shooting guard type, just filling out a point guard role. But I think that's just because he's been forced to do a lot more with Collins out. I think once Collins comes back, he'll really, to me, slide into that point guard role where he is, really distributing the ball, setting the pace, coming up the court. What are you not liking so far?
I mean, like Phil said, shoot, the teammates he's finding open guys in the right places. His defense could be a little better. He needs to get a little stronger if he wants to compete at the highest level in the NBA. But that's really the only downfall right now, early in the early season.
Mm-hmm. I think
what's really impressed me this year, though, is seeing his ability to get into the paint.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I think one question I got for both of you is, do you guys think that he tends to shoot a little farther back from the 3-point line than he needs to be? It just seems that he leaves a lot of open space there where he could probably make a harder shot a little bit easier. I don't know if you guys have noticed that at all. I know I have.
Likes the separation, the feeling of separation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he feels like his shot might get blocked he likes the separation. I mean, 34% from 3 in his first 7 games. I mean, it's not bad. And I mean, that's with a couple of games of struggling in a row. I mean, Saturday he went.
I mentioned to my buddies at work, I said, what I kind of thought was that because he got so used to being double teamed and triple teamed in college that he just automatically thinks he's got to quickly shoot the ball before someone rushes up and double teams him and he doesn't get that shot anymore. Because I noticed that when he was missing a lot last year at Oklahoma, I really started watching him because with knowing that the Hawks were going to get an early pick, I knew that he would be a guy that we could possibly draft, a guy that I thought would fit well here in Atlanta. I just had a sinking feeling that Dennis was going to be gone, especially after the arrest. So I figured they would be looking at point guard. And I also thought that it would be between, Doncic and him. So I really started following those two a lot just to get an idea of what they could possibly bring. And, I too have been really impressed with him. He's the obvious thing that I like. But also I'm going to say that I really like Kent Bazemore to start the year off. Other than the first game he was pretty terrible, but he's had to step up and he's played some pretty good games so far. His shooting off a little bit at times. And he tends to shoot the ball a lot when he doesn't need to shoot the ball. Again, that to me, I really noticed that the first game. And then the things that I dislike so far is you guys tapped into it, but the veterans to me, Jeremy Lin and Vince Carter have been absolutely horrible. I know what we're getting, when you're bringing a 40-year-old on the team and Jeremy Lin coming off the injury, that might be a slow start, but even with your veterans that you bring in, they at least got to bring, some kind of game with them. I mean, Vince Carter just seriously looks like he's 10 games away from retirement so far. And Jeremy Lin is trash. I don't know if that injury last year derailed his career or what, but he's just looked terrible. I don't know what to do with Jeremy Lin right now. I mean, to me, he should be axed. Is there somebody in the G League that can't be brought up, to fill up that spot? I know, Phil, you mentioned that, when we were talking about, talking on the site about, are these vets taking up time for the youngsters, and do we want to be seeing that later on down the road?
Yeah, when we get to March and we're like 15 and 45, I don't know how I'm going to feel about Vince Carter getting 20 minutes a night and Tyler Dorsey getting DMPs. At that point, what are we doing? Because at that point, all that we should be worrying about is our future. And, Tyler Dorsey looked good, like a serviceable rotation player at the end of last season. And, it's only going to get worse when Justin Anderson comes back and John Collins comes back. Because remember, Carter is starting at the 4 right now. So when Collins comes back, Carter is going to slide down and get those bench minutes at the 3 spot. So we're going to be – and then Justin Anderson, he's going to be getting the wing spot minutes. So I really don't see an opportunity for Tyler Dorsey to break back into this rotation anytime soon, which really doesn't – I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah. But at the same time, we can't understate Vince Carter's impact on the young guys, like from a mentor standpoint.
But that's how Vince Carter should have been here to begin with. I don't think they didn't plan for the injuries they had for him to be playing 20 minutes a game. I think I said that he averaged 15 minutes a game, if that, last year. And so that should be his role, is mentoring the young guys, and then not be playing as much. But Daric, what do you think about Bembry so far?
Bembry looks very nice, and going off what you said about Jeremy Lin, he hasn't brought anything to the team really at any aspect. So really, I think Bembry looks way better coming in off the bench at that backup point guard role. I think he's played the role very well. He's finding open teammates, and then he's making his shots, and then he's finding a way to get to open guys. So I think we can look at that more. But I think Jeremy Lin will get better throughout the season. I mean, he's coming off that injury, so I still have hope for him to help Trae Young in the future with that veteran leadership. But I definitely like Bembry's play so far.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's why I asked you. Especially with as bad as Lin's been playing, I'm with you. I hope that Lin's problem is just that he is slow coming off that injury. Because I mean, we've seen him play. He's not that old. And he's a very serviceable player. I mean, he's not going to be a superstar here. We all know that. But, if he could give us even remotely what he was given.
Does everybody know that?
2 years
ago. Them Linsanity fans is crazy.
We need him to do good for the articles. All right, Phil, what do you feel needs to be improved the most to start winning games?
Defense. We're giving up an astronomical. I know a lot of teams are, but we're giving up. Let's see, we're giving up 117 a game, which is shockingly that's only 21st. That's 21st in the league.
Everybody's
21st in the league. How about that?
Oh no, defense has been horrible to start off with. I don't know. But look how many young teams there are compared to, you have your superstar teams that are probably at the top for defense. And if you roll through that defensive list, look at the teams at the bottom, how young they are. And,
the Lakers, I'll tell you this, the Lakers and Wizards, they aren't young. They're the two on the bottom.
The Lakers aren't that old either. I mean, other than LeBron,
Rondo. Well, what's his name? McGee's getting up there. I would say Rondo. They got a few. That's just a weird team. They got a weird team.
Yeah. All right, Daric, what do you think needs to be improved the most?
I mean, obvious answer is defense. And I mean, injury. We need John Collins back. If we want to win, we need John Collins back. Can't have Vince Carter playing the 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it the trifecta. Defense is horrible. Defense win games. I'm old school, and so I'm a big fan of defense win game. I mean, one of my favorite players of all time is Dennis Rodman, and no one cleaned up defense quite like him. He did all the dirty work, and I think every team needs to have that guy that sacrifices everything to do the dirty work. Grab them boards. I really kind of hope that Alex Len was going to play that role. I know it's far-fetched, but I really hope that he might step up and play that role, because really we didn't have anybody that's just defensive minded. Kevin Huerter, he really, to begin at Maryland, played great defense, and then when he started working on his shot a little bit more last year, his defense really fell off. And so I was kind of hoping too, with his, maybe he could get some time, play a little bit of defense. And he's been okay, but we really haven't got a good taste of what he can bring defensively or anything like that. But I agree with the both of you that defense has just been terrible. We can't afford to give up 120 points a game. It's just we can't afford to.
So we won our games going on runs, but we were down a lot of points because of defense. So we're not going to go on runs like that all the time.
That's how it's going to have to be with a young team. But honestly, if you would have said no John Collins first 7 games, and we'd be 2-5, and Trae Young's averaging 19 a game, I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. What do you think that that once John Collins comes back, that the defense will pick up? I mean, one great thing about this year has been that it seems like they've fought. And that's a great thing. Even when they've been down, they're still fighting their way to come back in each and every game. And then it just seems like that four quarters, four period there that we just kind of all goes downhill.
Yeah, we need another playmaker. We need another basket getter. I definitely think John Collins will help us. But at the end of the day, we're right on track. 0.286. Yeah, that's about 25 wins, which is about where maybe that's a little more than I think we'll get. But
yeah. All right, let's do the final record prediction. We'll go with you, Phil. What do you think now after seeing the early games? You still sticking with not a lot of wins?
Yeah, because honestly, who have we played besides Philadelphia? Cleveland twice, Dallas, Chicago. I mean, we scored 87 against a team that gave up 92.5 the very next game. So we go out west in a few weeks.
That's going to be bad. That's going to be bad.
Yeah, that is going to be. I honestly, I told my wife, we were talking about, them playing Golden State, and we were talking about it in the site, and we were talking about, I could see them resting their starters and still beating us by 30.
Did I give a number? 22 and 60.
22. Okay, Daric, what do you think?
I'm going to one-up you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say 24. 24 wins.
Man, I was a believer. I said 30 to 35. And, I'm going to go with, 23 now as I've seen the team play. I want to say John Collins is going to make a difference, but I just don't think he's going to make that much of a difference. And then seeing them play, I was kind of surprised that they did beat Dallas. That was a game I didn't have them winning. But again, it's hard to tell. It's really, really early on. So, we don't know whether or not they'll gel, as they play together a little bit more. Again, get Vince Carter off as the minutes of, that he's playing, which, like I said, they never really planned for him to have, that many minutes to begin with. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, one thing about it is, I'm really glad that they went ahead with the rebuild, because we're starting to put together the players that could build, a great franchise. There's still some things that we're missing. I'd really like to see us get a solid center, someone to really, to dominate down low. And so it'll be interesting to see. So I would like to see us get to draft a center maybe in next year. And then, but one thing about it, you win 20 games, we're going to be able to put another young piece onto the team next year. So,
and we'll have money.
Yeah.
I want to see us add a shooter, an actual shooter that can create off the dribble too. We need one of those.
Daric, I want to throw a quick question to you. Do you think that getting a guy like Vince Carter here, do you think that that'll draw free agents here at all?
No, I mean, I don't see anyone saying like, oh, let me come play with Vince Carter with the Hawks in a rebuilding situation. So I don't really think it will affect anything like that. However, I do think it will build the locker room up and make the team chemistry a lot higher. But as far as free agency goes, I don't really think it would affect that at all.
Well, I just think, I don't necessarily mean like Vince Carter, the name being here. I mean more like, just showing that a guy like him will come here to help a rebuild, but seeing that he's playing with, guys like Trae Young and stuff like that. I mean, I think Trae Young is going to be that superstar.
I think he can bring people in. Later in his career.
Look at the passes he's making.
Exactly.
Who would want to play with a point guard?
Shooters are going to want to play with that, and big man. He's finding Alex Len. He's setting him up. If he can do that with him, then
9 for 9 last night. Like, come on, you can barely catch a ball.
All right, last question, and then we'll move on to the next topic. If we could get a free agent, if you thought a free agent could come here, what free agent do you think would come here? Go ahead, Phil.
My man who hit 14 threes the other night.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Klay Thompson.
Yeah, Klay is. I think
I've always wanted him to come in.
I think Klay Thompson silently wants to get away from the dynasty to show that he can do it on his own, because he's always been that overlooked guy. And who better to come, to a franchise like the Hawks lead them to something big to show, hey, you know, I wasn't just the third guy on the Golden State Warriors. I mean, if you can even call him the third guy at this point, he's the fifth guy. I mean, that team just keeps loading up, you know. Yeah, Klay Thompson, I hope. I mean, that's the guy I want to see them go court, make it happen. I mean, you can give him the max, you know, and so, you know, and pitch that to him, pitch that him and Trey together could be that duo, you know. So it'll be interesting to see. You know, we'll get through this season. It's early. Hope that they pull off a few more wins than, you know, we all think that they will, and, you know, at least make it enjoyable. I just want to see them fight this year. I think Pierce as the coach this year was a great hire. So, because he seems to really get a rebuild and understands what it's like to go through. It's great that he went through it with Billy for so long, because he knows, doesn't get frustrated, and will keep at it with the youngsters instead of getting frustrated, throwing the vets out, you know, and taking away those minutes. That's why I think, you know, Phil, what you said, you know, you don't want to see the old guys out when we've won 15 games later on in the year. I don't think he wants to see the old guys out there either. So
yeah, I think it will definitely change over time. And I mean, his main focus in coaching is pretty much defense. So I think that will get better over time too. It's just the team has to come together and just be willing to learn a new system and play together.
Sounds good. All right, let's hit to the second topic. Good old Atlanta United. Bill, you're just going to give us an overview of how the regular season went and the always exciting Atlanta finish to the season. So go ahead, Phil.
All right, so in case you've been under a rock, we have a soccer team here in Atlanta, and they are pretty popular, probably the most popular team in town. And they're pretty good, actually really good. They were the best team in MLS history until the final game of the season, where they decided to wet the bed. So yeah, pretty much all season, Atlanta United was on track to become the greatest team in MLS history and they've been breaking all kinds of attendance records, scoring records, just all kinds of any record you can think of, you know. So we come into Sunday needing a win to set the all-time MLS record set by the team we were playing, which was Toronto just last year, 69 points. That's a nice little record, right? But so we get in there and we just lay flat and lose 4-1. Now, so not only did we lose that game, there's a good little team in New York called New York Red Bulls who have put together a really good season as well, kind of under the radar. You know, if MLS, think of Atlanta United as the Golden State Warriors of the MLS. You know, they get all the coverage, they get all the press. You know, the league loves us. So, but here comes New York, and we lost to them a few weeks ago, and that really opened the race back up. And then they got a really good win last week in Philadelphia, which really set us up for this situation Sunday. So all we had to do was go win in Toronto. Well, we didn't do that, but also New York won, and New York actually ended up passing us on the final day of the season. And they now are the best team in MLS history. They ended up with 71 points. We ended up with 69 points. So going to today, so the MLS playoff structure is very similar to the NFL. You have 12 teams make it, 6 in each conference. Top 2 teams get a bye. So Atlanta, of course, second best team in the Eastern Conference. So if we play the highest seed out of the knockout round. So right now we have New York City and Philadelphia playing. New York City is the 3rd seed. Now, let's keep in mind there's 2 New York teams. We got New York City Football Club and then the New York Red Bulls. So New York City Football Club is the 3 seed, and they're currently dominating. Actually, looks like Philadelphia just scored, but there's only about 5 minutes left. New York City is up 3-1. We will be going to Yankee Stadium Sunday. Yeah, they play soccer at Yankee Stadium. It's the worst pitch I've ever seen. You know, it's the size of, think of if they put a Major League Soccer field in your backyard. It's that narrow. It's awful. But New York is a very, very, very good home team. They've only lost 1 time at home. They've had 4 draws, but they had 12 wins. Atlanta, 10-5-2 on the road. We're going up against a very tall task Sunday. And if we play how we've played lately, we will be coming home down 3-1. But thankfully, we have Miguel Almiron. He's coming back, and he's regarded as one of the best players in the MLS. You have that attacking line of Joseph and Miggy, obviously far and away the best attacking line in the league. So we're going to have our hands full. It's not going to be a gimme. Atlanta, even with the loss, is probably the favorite to win the league. It's just somehow we're going to have to get past both New York teams now.
Explain to people that don't really follow soccer all that much, Phil, what the winning the Supporter Shield means. I mean, that was a big, big loss for Atlanta to not get that Supporter Shield.
Since Atlanta United's inception, the goal, all the talk has been winning trophies. Now, we kind of whiffed on the U.S. Open Cup in the middle of the season. Arthur Blank, Carlos Bocanegra, all the leaders of Atlanta United were like, we're going to go out and we're going to try to win every trophy possible. But we had that mid-season tournament. We didn't play Joseph. We didn't play Miggy. We barely played Barco. So we kind of whiffed on that, and we're like, okay, we're going to focus. We're going to go get the best record ever. We're going to get the most points. We're going to go get the Supporter Shield. And then there was a really, really tough quote from Tata Martino after the loss Sunday. He was like, well, we kind of just, everything we fought for, we kind of went and threw it away today. That was a really, really tough quote. And but Supporter Shield in soccer, it's a big deal. It's an actual trophy. It's not like NBA where who cares who has the best record. No, it's a big deal in soccer.
Yeah. I mean, it's as someone that's seen the Supporter Shield won here there in Seattle, I can tell you that trophy is displayed right along with the MLS, the MLS Cup trophy. I mean, it was an important part of the Sounders, in their championship years. So, it's definitely, in soccer it is. You put it perfectly. It's all about the trophies and racking up the wins and stuff like that. Let us know also just how unbelievable a year Joseph had. I mean, this is, a once in a lifetime type year for a soccer player in MLS.
This was definitely the best year by an individual player in MLS history. And it's not really even that close. 31 goals, and just the percentage was crazy. He got if you remember, he broke the record almost a month and a half ago at this point.
I was saying, it's been a while since he broke that record.
The whole team just kind of coasted toward the end. So he really could have had about 35 goals. He missed like 4 point blank ones in the game last week.
Yeah, so, it was just very, very disappointing to see how they did there in especially with the last 2 weeks. Just unbelievable. We'll get into this later, but it's just very Atlanta-like. I don't ever understand. One of the things I've never understood as someone that's not from Atlanta and has only been here, recently, is just what amazes me the most about Atlanta sports teams is the inability to put things away. I've always been from the, I say put foot on throats. I really like that, just putting teams away and not letting this should have been the year of years for them. And the fact that they got past is just unbelievable.
Yeah. And it was a problem all season long. We struggled multiple times. There was times where we were completely in control of the game. I can name at least 4 or 5 games this season where we ended up dropping points at the end. We could have ended up with about 80 points this year. We were that dominant. Far and away, we have the most talent in the league. Mm-hmm. We still should be the favorites to win, but we lack mental toughness at times.
Mm-hmm. I would have thought of some, after seeing how well the first half of the season went, I didn't think there was a team anywhere that could stop them. And it really, even after they started coasting there at the end, I thought, okay, this is just a one-off thing. I know how good this team can be. And, and so I figured that, they would just bounce back, and it just never seemed to happen. So one thing about playoffs is momentum, and They're not coming in with any momentum, and that scares me.
And now you're playing a team that's coming in with a ton of momentum. New York really struggled the last few months, but now in the last few weeks, they've really turned it back on. And they're, like I said, they are incredible at home on their little baby pitch. So
it's what you see it a lot in baseball too. A team that comes in, wins the wild card because they got hot near the end of the season, end up winning the whole thing because they're riding the high coming in. And so that's one thing about about soccer where you do automatically get to go into the Eastern semifinals, but you don't that team that has to qualify to play you has already got a win under their belt to get to you.
And they're just, like I said, they're really good at home, and we've struggled with them. We've struggled with both New York teams.
All right, well, we're going to see how that goes. We'll keep an eye on that, and I'm sure
for people who aren't familiar with how the actual series goes, it's basically a 180-minute game. You have the first 90 minutes at the lower seed stadium, and then we come home. It's basically, you call that home field advantage because you know what you have to do at home. And also, if it goes to extra time or penalty kicks, you have that in front of your home fans.
I hated that. I still hate it. I don't know why. I just like having being on the home field, getting that early advantage. I guess I don't know.
It's not.
I see it both ways, but I personally like it where you start at home and.
Because, I mean, if we're being honest, I don't see us coming home anything better than 2-1.
If we're down more than 2, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. It's hard. It's harder to do in the playoffs. I've seen it. So
for all the greatness, we're a young team.
Well, like I said, we'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully, with the next podcast we do, we'll definitely have an answer to how good Atlanta really is, and hope that the regular season, wasn't just, I guess, real. I guess what I'm trying to say is, hopefully that they can, get off that, bring it in the playoffs, take the MLS Cup home. Atlanta desperately needs a championship. I mean, I'm rooting for y'all all the way to the finals.
And nobody says it counts to me.
Yeah. I mean, me, there's nothing I'd love more than it to be Atlanta, Seattle in the finals. So
that's who I have in my bracket. That's who I have.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I know how good the Sounders are and how good they've been playing. So it could happen. I always hope for, I like to give you guys a hard time, so I'm always hoping for that. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the Atlanta Falcons. They are 3-4. They just came off their bye week, but they have an important stretch of 3 games coming up against the Washington Redskins, Cleveland Browns, and Dallas Cowboys. Daric, what you think, man? How important are these 3 games?
These are the most important games of the season right here. This is a stretch where we should – notice I said should because you know how Atlanta sports are. We should beat these teams. And, I mean, I think we're going to be fine. I think we're going to come off this bye week and play our best football. I think the defense is starting to get it together a little bit. And then what? I think isn't it November 18th when Deion Jones can come back? So, I mean, if we win these 3 games, when he comes back, the defense is going to be the best as it's been all season. And I think we just need to find a way to be consistent on both sides. I mean, it seems like if the offense is going, the defense isn't going. But then if the defense picks it up, then the offense goes 3 and out the next time. I think we're one of the most talented teams in the league. And if we can just play at a consistent level on both sides, we'll be able to beat some teams and hopefully make a playoff run at the end of the season.
Yeah, Phil, what you think, man? How important?
Yeah, we gotta find a way to defend. It's been a mighty struggle. And like Daric said, this is one of the most talented teams in the league. And they're 3-4, but they're still right in it. You got a tough game. Washington's 5-2, but I wouldn't say they're a good 5-2. You know what I mean? Just like Carolina, I wouldn't say they're good, but you still have a chance to do something this year. you see all the time in the NFL. There's a team that starts, 1-4, 2-4, something like that, that ends up making it to like the NFC Championship game. You have the talent on both sides of the ball to do something. You're going to start getting some of these players back. You just got to take it week by week. You only have 4 losses. There's no reason why we still can't go 10-6 or at the very least 9-7.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. I think this is the 3 most important games of the year. 3 very winnable games. I know Washington's record. I think Washington, is okay, but that division is very, very weak this year. So, I think that they are 5-2 in a horrible division. The game that scares me the most is Cleveland. I hate overlooking teams to get to the next one and them knowing that they need to win these 3 to virtually, to me, have any shot at making the playoffs. And I don't want them to go in thinking, hey, it's just Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland coming off firing their coach, and firing their offensive coordinator. So you're going to have a new guy calling plays. I'm going to guess that Baker Mayfield had a lot of input in who is taking over with the offensive coordinator position, somebody that he's probably comfortable with. And so that game scares me more than anyone on the schedule. I thought when I was looking at who we play to end off, Cleveland and Baltimore both scared me. I don't see them winning in New Orleans. I think New Orleans is just surprising everyone, and they have a very good offense. I mean, you're looking at a 30-30 game, a 30-point game, because both defenses are terrible. But so I just don't see us winning that. I'm still not real sure about Carolina. I want to say that they've improved, but I've also seen, Cam be Cam and them falter at the end. So, that could be a winnable game. But I definitely think that these 3 are the most important. If the Falcons can win these 3 again, you're 6-4, and the whole season turned around. Daric said it best. You start getting those defensive players coming back. Those holes start to fill in, and things change. I mean, it's and again, when you start seeing, a positive side on the win column as opposed to the loss column, it can turn your whole season around. And I think this year too, it's better being in the NFC, because I do think a 9-win team is going to make it into the playoffs. And so you get into 9, you probably got a chance at making it. Really just depends on the head-to-head records on the other NFC teams that could go 9-7. And then, but I think 10 wins they're in. I can't imagine, that them not getting in with 10 wins. But boy, it's going to be tough to get 10 wins with who they got left to play.
Yeah, we travel to Green Bay too, I think.
Yeah, that's they're struggling this year, but that is I've been there. I've been to that stadium. It is one of the toughest places to play in as an away team. It's an unbelievable setting to be in for a football game. And as someone that's definitely not a Green Bay fan, I loved every minute of it. I mean, I told myself when I got done there, I was like, I could see myself being a Green Bay fan just by stepping into that stadium and going to one game. Luckily for me, they weren't playing the Seahawks, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I had a lot of fun there, and they treat you, they know the football game, the fans do, and so they can definitely change a game around. That game, I actually have that as an L too, so that's just a tough place to play. But they lost some players here in the trade deadline, and they seem to be moving away possibly to a rebuild themselves. They're high up on the salaries, and so they had to rid themselves of people that they didn't think they could sign. Got a few more draft picks, so it could be a change coming there, but we'll get into that a little bit later as well. But let's get into Matt Ryan. This year just seems to be having another unbelievable year. My question for Daric, would Matt Ryan be an MVP candidate again this year if the Falcons were winning?
If they're winning, yes. I think they're going to have to make the playoffs for him to even be in the race because of how well people like Patrick Mahomes is playing and Todd Gurley. And I mean, and they're what the Chiefs are 7-1, Rams 7-0, 8-0.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he has a chance, but I think he's going to have to play at an unbelievable level to even get into that top 3 race. And they would have to pretty much win out and make the playoffs on like a 10 or 11 wins.
Yeah, win out is what I thought. With him, the thing is he's would be a strong MVP candidate because he's pretty much that team right now. I mean, you haven't really, other than Calvin Ridley, scoring for him. He's pretty much tossed the ball around to everyone.
It's very identical to this MVP season. It's very identical to it.
So that's it. I was going to say, do you think he's as good or better than his MVP year?
I'm about to say as good. I can't say better because we were winning games, but that also has to do with the defense that we had then, and they were playing well.
I'd be curious to see what their defensive point total is this year, as opposed to what the defense gave up that his MVP year. Because to me, I think he's still putting up the points that he was putting up in his MVP year. So
I'm about to say, I think the stats are for like identical. Throughout the first week.
To me, the difference is red zone. I don't know. In his MVP year, how he did in the red zone. I don't have that number up in front of me, but I'm going to guess that he wasn't as good as he's been in the red zone this year. They've been excellent.
I've never seen this from this team.
Me either. Not since I've been here. So, all right, Phil, what do you think? Do you think he'd be an MVP candidate if they were winning?
If they can make it to about 11-5 or 10-6, I definitely think he should get MVP consideration. I mean, he's having a magnificent season.
Other than Todd Gurley, I mean, as far as the Rams, being undefeated, they've got so many stars that I can't say that one player for them would be an MVP, or if they were to lose a Todd Gurley, they wouldn't be as good as they are, especially having the defense that they have. You got to look at who made
Falcons and what would they be?
The other one, a lot of people are talking about obviously is Drew Brees, but Drew Brees, he's got Kamara, he's got the wide receiver crew, and so I don't know that they wouldn't, they couldn't win games without him. It seemed like, especially at the beginning of the year, that him and Kamara were just, a wrecking crew, and then getting Ingram back, you has seen Kamara's numbers kind of go down, that they haven't had to lean on him as much. So he would be another person. Obviously Cam is getting a lot of attention. That team is drastically improved, and he's going to get some looks as well. But I just don't. To me, an MVP is that guy that takes that. If you were to take him out of the equation, that team wouldn't make the playoffs. I mean,
the most valuable player.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes it kind of morphs into like the best player on the best team. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the same way in the NBA too.
Yeah.
I see as an outsider that's someone that's grown to be a Falcons fan on top of a Seahawks fan. I tend to see so many people here rag on Matt Ryan, and I'm like, do you know how many teams would be knocking on his doorstep the minute he ever became a free agent here? And you don't understand. People don't understand what you guys have got here. One thing about it is you can just toss in a running back, you can just toss in a wide receiver, but you can't find a franchise quarterback. They don't just drop in your lap every day. I mean, we've seen that. How many in the last 3 years would you consider to be a franchise quarterback? I mean, you mentioned Mahomes, but we're only seeing one season of it from him. And
a lot of these young quarterbacks, they'll have that one magical season and then they're never good again. How long has Matt Ryan been good now?
Yeah, he's been consistent. He's been one of the most consistent quarterbacks.
A lot of it is, again, They don't have the ring. I mean, that's how everything's judged here in Atlanta sports. They just don't. He don't have the championship. But I'm telling you, if he wasn't around here, you wouldn't even be close to the point of even getting to a chance for the championship. I mean, one day I wrote down like all the teams that I thought would take him the minute he ever became a free agent. I think I had like a list of 15 teams that would take him in a heartbeat, and he would instantly make them better. I mean, just think you could have Matt Schaub. I mean,
they'll realize it when he's gone.
Yeah. All right. Who do you think has been the biggest loss injury-wise for the Falcons this year, and why? I'll throw that one to you, Phil, first.
Alford, you can have your pickings of guys on the defense that have just been biggest sweat. Yeah, it's been so rough. I mean, it's nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah, what about you, Daric? What do you think, man?
Definitely Deion Jones. I mean, he's the captain of that defense, and he's a playmaker on that defense too. Forces turnovers, so definitely him, and it's going to help when he comes back.
When the first injury happened, my answer to this question was Devonta Freeman. But then I saw Ito Smith and saw how much I liked Kevin Coleman and Ito Smith together as alternating backs, and I've really grown to enjoy those two together more than Devonta Freeman. Deion Jones is brutal. I mean, when you
just tell as soon as we lost him.
A lot of people don't realize just how much losing your defensive captain is. This is the guy that calls the plays, set your defense to the plays. It's essentially the person that you consider to be the smartest player on your defense that knows, that really knows each other's team schemes. And like I said, is able to position each defensive player to where they need to be at times. You look at some of the best defenses that have been around the last few years. They've all had an all-pro safety on their team as their defensive guy. And so it's that was just a huge loss. I can't, again, having someone that's your voice go down is, and I think it set the tone for, how the early part of the season went, and depth has always been a problem for the Falcons. So, you don't have that next guy up. And then what's made it worse is the next guy up that they do have has gone down with injury too. So,
it seems like every time someone starts to play well in the defense, he's on the ground. And we're looking for the next guy.
Hopefully Deion can come back week 11, week 12.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that the safety issue is what has contributed to the cornerback problem this year? Because I think, to me, the cornerback position has been the biggest drop off for the Falcons this year. I think at times Trufant has been absolutely terrible this year. I love Trufant. He's my Husky, my Husky guy, but he has been, I don't know, he's regressed to me the most of anybody on the defense this year.
Yeah, it seems ever since he had that big year, he's just been on the downward slope of a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. What you think, Daric?
I mean, there has been games where, like you said, when he just looked bad. Both of them. I mean, Alfred, he looks terrible the last game that we played, and I don't know. I think it's just a mix of both. We don't have that captain on the field, which, I mean, them guys are both vets. They've been here for a while, so they should take that lead, but they really haven't, and I'm kind of disappointed in that, but I think it will come together.
What's kind of surprised me the most about True is that he's always been a really good, at catching interceptions, and it seems like he has missed so many game-changing interceptions by just dropping the ball. I don't remember what game it was that you and I were talking about, what the game at the end there where they, everybody's like, well, that didn't lose the game. I'm like, he literally, if he has that ball in his hand, it's a W.
Was that the Saints or the Bengals?
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I'm like, I know it's not one play that makes the game, but that literally was.
Oh yeah, that was
the game. That was the game. We're talking about a different season. Now,
when you've got to win those 40 to 30 games, one play like that is, you know, can make all the difference in the world, and it did, you know, and that's a play that I think that, you know, 2 years ago, last year ago, he made so easily. And that, you know, that's to me where the regression is. You know, I've seen Alfred get burnt so many times that, you know, I lost all hope in him. I just don't see him as he's never been he's never been a shutdown corner to me whatsoever. So, but I mean, I know he's got a lot of fans in Atlanta, and he's got a lot of love, and, you know, but I just, you know, I really had wanted to see them draft a good corner in the first round. I'm not disappointed that they took Calvin Ridley, because man, he's awesome. So, I mean, I love him. I'm, you know, getting to see a lot of SEC games, you know, since I've lived here. You know, it's a whole different type of football that I'm used to, you know, with being a Pac-12 guy. But you know, seeing him come out and be as explosive as he is, you know, I'm glad that they, you know, went to the well again with an Alabama wide receiver, because it seems to be working out for him. So maybe every year we should just pick an Alabama wide receiver and throw him in, because man, it's never failed us at all yet. So that's, I mean, what a pickup. I mean, could you imagine where we'd be, you know, if we didn't have him? I mean, Julio might not have any touchdowns, but it seems like he's open a heck of a lot more. And he's able to get those, you know, crucial first downs in the games that they've won. I thought, you know, Julio on the Monday night game against the Giants was excellent. I mean, you don't have to put it in the end zone. He's never really been the end zone guy for the Falcons. You know, he's just that big, I call him the big game catch guy. You know, he always makes that catch for you when you absolutely need to have one. And so, I think that, you know, once the defense does get settled, and, you know, because obviously the offense isn't gonna regress much, that team, you know, that again, they have a chance to get in the playoffs and be a really, really dangerous team. And I know that they would love to go all the way and play a home Super Bowl game. I know that how huge would that be for this city? I mean, could you imagine? I mean, winning the first championship and having it be here?
That would be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I would dream of something like that, you know, because it just, you know, it's never happened. I don't think. Has anybody ever? No, it's never happened. You're the first to do something.
I think Minnesota was the closest to ever happen. I think that was the first time anyone was even in the conference championship that was there.
All right, let's go to some final record predictions for the Falcons. Daric, what do you think, man?
I'm highballing it. We're gonna get 11 wins.
Whew.
Lose to the Saints in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely they're winnable games. You know, again, I agree with you. I don't see them winning at New Orleans. I think it'd be different if it would have been at home. I thought they could have run the table. I just don't. I don't see them beating one of these next three teams. They have to, absolutely have to. But
that's just how it works. Yeah.
But the Browns, I'm telling you, the Browns worry me. I think we're going to destroy the Cowboys. The Cowboys are so overrated, it's pathetic. But the Browns scare me. I don't know why. We should whip them by 40. But I know how we get in games like that, and so I'm going to go. I'm going to go with 9-7. I said that at the beginning, and I think that had the defensive injuries not happened, I would have been totally wrong. This would have been a 13-14 win team. Steve Sarkisian has changed me. I'm not a big fan of his. Obviously, I've seen him more than you guys probably have. Having coached the Huskies, and I just don't like him. I don't like his offensive scheme, but he's realized that he needs to play to Matt Ryan's strength instead of him trying to force his offense on Matt Ryan, which clearly wasn't working at the beginning of the year and and last year. So it's nice to see that, they've hurried up on the offense a lot more lately. They look like a completely different team right now. Having Ito and Kevin running the ball has been working out great. I don't like them running up the middle, but it seems like when they run out to the ends, they're just as good. They got so much speed and quickness. Ito is awesome at that. So, all right, Phil, your final record.
10-6. Lost obviously Thanksgiving Day at New Orleans, and one that you shouldn't lose.
Do you guys think that if they are able to run the table that they could go to the Super Bowl?
Well, I think they can get to the Super Bowl regardless. I still really think this is one of the most talented teams in the NFL. And hopefully by the time we get to the playoffs, I mean, we'll be hot. First of all, if we get there, we'll be hot, period. Yeah. And then also you'll really start getting a lot of these guys back. And I really think they'd be able to put it together and get there. I mean, even the year they went to the Super Bowl, they were 7-5 at one point. Mm-hmm. And then they got hot.
Yeah, especially since it would take us to get hot at the end of the season. Nobody's going to want to see us if we make it into that playoff.
And everybody really wants to come to this stadium.
Mm-hmm. The only good thing for me being a Seahawks fan is that if we get in, we'll be similar to the same record as you guys, and so that means we probably wanted to see each other for the NFC Championship game. There's two teams I hate playing in the playoffs: Falcons and the Rams. So eventually, I'm pretty sure one of us is going to have to see the Rams because that team is stacked. I don't see anybody beating them in the NFC, but boy, I would love to see anybody whoop them. So that's definitely with them being a rival for my team, I never want to see them win. So if the Falcons do end up playing them, well, I'll be the biggest Falcons fan there is in this house. That's for sure. So
they're gonna be ready this year too. Last year they weren't ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Their thing is if their defense does have a bad game, the offense hasn't really been able to, hasn't been able to, but can shut down at times. Jared Goff isn't quite, the elite quarterback yet. He's still young and stuff like that. So he has games where they're shut down. I watched the Seahawks put up 30 against them. So I know that a big shot offense like the Falcons could put up 30 on them like nothing as well. So their defense is hyped, but I mean, they've been worked a couple times this year. So it's not like it's, not able to be scored upon. So, all right, let's get to the NFL trade deadline. A lot of big names got traded at the trade deadline, and I'll go over the major trades. Clinton Dix went to the Washington Redskins from Green Bay. Ty Montgomery, he went to the Baltimore Ravens, also from Green Bay. Like I said, Green Bay shedded a lot of salary, with guys that were going to cost them next year. And Ty Montgomery just has the worst fumbling problem I've ever seen he's just terrible. And so he kind of needed that new situation. Dante Fowler, which was shocking to me, went from Jacksonville to the Rams. Golden Tate, he went from the Lions to the Eagles. And Demaryius Thomas went from Denver to the Houston Texans. My question for you guys, and I'll throw it to Phil first. Who made the best deadline deal this year?
It wasn't a deadline deal, but I still got to go with the Rams. Well, I guess it was a deadline deal.
Yeah. Dante Fowler. I mean, let's stack another defensive end on a team that's loaded loaded on the defense. I couldn't believe that. I was like,
make them. They didn't even need to make them.
Mm-hmm.
They just added on to that powerhouse. That's definitely the trade of the year right there.
Yeah.
A little bit of a sidebar, but I hate when teams get complacent. And they're just like, good.
Yeah, that to me, this is a no-brainer. I mean, Dante Fowler, do you think he skipped out of that Jacksonville locker room, or did he run? I mean, get me out of here. You go from Blake Bortles to the best team in the NFL. I mean, I don't know if it was a character issue there. because I have a hard time believing that Jacksonville's given up, especially because, they're known for their defense as well. Not so much this year, but, just last year, their defense got them as far as they did, and
Right.
almost upset New England. So do you think it might have been a character issue that got him, out of Jacksonville? Phil, what do you think?
It had to be something,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're 3-5. It's not like the season is over.
Mm-hmm.
So it had to have been something more. Had to have been something more over there that got him kicked out of there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. What else it could be. Question for you, Daric. Are you surprised the Falcons didn't make a move defensively?
Surprised? No. Disappointed? Yes. Dan Quinn's been preaching it all year. He says next man up, next man up. So I'm not really surprised that we didn't go for the other guy. He wants to keep it in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely thought we needed to look for a safety. I mean, there wasn't a lot there, but I think we definitely needed to look.
Do you think that if Earl Thomas would have been there and not been hurt, do you think he would have been a Falcon, or do you think he would have been a Cowboy?
It would be more likely a Cowboy. I mean, the Falcons just didn't want to make a move.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to sign somebody off the free agency, and they just didn't want to give up somebody because we have those people coming back next year that are young.
Well, I agree with you. When your division rivals picking up safeties that should have been picked up by you,
we definitely should have took him.
To me, we talk about Dante Fowler being the best move. Falcons not picking up Eric Reed, to me, is the worst move.
Yes.
I mean, come on now. I mean, pride's one thing, winning football is another thing. I mean, and he's been. I haven't really watched a lot of it. I've seen just a little bit here and there. They were on Sunday because the Falcons were on a bye, but so I watched that game then, and he looks to be fitting in real well there. So, what do you think, Phil? You think they didn't make a move, or?
Dan Quinn's a big military guy, so
yeah, he don't want that. He don't want that in there, not in that locker room.
Yeah. He was trained.
Even though the guy in charge is pretty open.
He was trained by Pete Carroll. I mean, Pete Carroll's all about that. It's all about the military and stuff like that. Like, I knew when they brought in Colin for a workout, I think it was just more to get the NFL off their backs for, hey, we didn't, nobody brings in this, nobody brings in Colin Kaepernick or Eric Reed in for, at least a tryout. I knew there was no way they were going to sign him. And, that to me, it's just so unfortunate because look how many teams are starting quarterbacks that shouldn't be in the NFL. I'm personally not a Colin Kaepernick fan. I think he's horrible, but I'll tell you what, he's 50 times better than some of the guys I see him being trotted out right now in the quarterback position than, anything. So it'll be interesting to see when that lawsuit and everything gets worked out. It's good. I'm really glad that Eric Reed is going to continue to go through with the lawsuit as well, because I do think him more so over Colin Kaepernick has been affected by this more than anybody, because, I mean, it's not like he regressed or anything. I mean, he's just as good, So, that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. So, but all right, let's jump into a little bit of fun time here. Let's jump into some buy and sell. All right, let's start with Ohio State Buckeyes. They're probably not making the BCS playoff. They had a big loss there, and old Coach Urban Myers, all of a sudden, he's got these spots in his brain. He's getting these major headaches. And we've all seen this play out before with the Florida Gators when things weren't going good anymore. All of a sudden, health issues. His heart was kind of, not really working well and stuff. Buy or sell Urban Meyer? Go ahead, Daric.
Sell, man. But I still watch. The committee loves Ohio State. If they win out, they're going to be up there no matter what, even though because of that big loss. They'll be in the top 5 contention and maybe squeeze away in a 4 just because of how the committee favors them.
Yep. Cash. Ohio State is cash, cash, cash. All right, buy or sell, Phil.
Sell. Never really been a huge Urban Meyer fan. I just feel like he took the easy way out there in Florida. And I think he'll do it again in Ohio State and when they lose another game this year.
I'm an absolute sell on Urban Meyer. I think that he lucked out with Mr. Tebow at Florida, so it made him, you know, be out to be a better coach than he actually is, because I just haven't seen it all that much at Ohio State. They always seem to lose that one or two big games. But man, Daric hit the nail on the head. The committee loves Ohio State because Ohio State fans are cash. They'll travel to wherever their team is playing, and they'll bring ratings to any game that they're in. And I agree. If they went out, they're in. I think this year is, the committee has just got big old smiles on their face because, hey, Alabama, ratings. Notre Dame, monster ratings.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, monster ratings. So
they're in there.
Yeah, I mean, they went out. I don't care if they play, the East Tennessee School of the Deaf,
School of the Blind.
they went out. They're in. I mean, and then obviously Ohio State being in the mix. Those are your three big money schools. I think Clemson, if they went out, obviously should be in. They're not necessarily a money school, but they'll get in just because of their, ACC still considered to be a big division. I don't know why. But I think based upon previous, with Miami and Florida State, that's always given the ACC their big name, but those teams aren't as good as they used to be. But I just don't see I don't see any other teams overtaking them because it looks like the Pac-12 is going to produce Washington State as their champion, and I don't think Washington State is going to have the resume to overtake any of the one-loss teams that they do win out. I've seen them play an awful lot, and I don't even think that they're going to win out of the Pac-12. I don't see them beating Washington, but then again, I don't think anybody's going to beat Washington until they lose every week. So yeah, I sell Urban Meyer, but I definitely buy Ohio State because, like I said, that's ratings galore, and they're going in if they're a one-loss team. So, after the Atlanta United failed to win the Supporters Shield and the #1 seed, the Atlanta sports theorists say the Atlanta curse is alive. Buy or sell the Atlanta sports curse? Go ahead, Phil.
Shockingly, I'm gonna sell it because I think every city might say this about their teams except like Boston. I really think every team probably says.
But even Boston, even when the Red Sox couldn't win, the Celtics were winning championship, the Bruins were winning championship. So it's not like the entire city was cursed.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna sell it.
All right, Daric, what you think, man?
Man, I'm all in buying it. I'm throwing all the money at it. It's there, and it's going to show for them this year. It's going to show for United again this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Phil on this. I sell, man, and it's because I got the first-hand side of it. I used to think that Seattle had the worst sports curse ever, and then they won the Super Bowl, and it all went away, and so I just think that it's only gonna take just one team winning. And the weirdest part is that the Seahawks won the year after the Seattle Storm won. So even a WNBA championship at least proved to the city that a championship could be brought. So even if it's the Dream, even if it's, the United, someone just bringing home a championship could turn the city around. I will tell you this, though. I do think the Braves are going to bring one before the Falcons.
I was just about to ask, who y'all think is going to be the first team?
I think it's going to be the Braves.
Braves?
Count.
You think the Falcons are going to bring one before the Braves?
Do United count to y'all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I still think United can win this year.
Mm-hmm. Do you think –
I think it's possible.
Just a quick question, Phil, go back a little bit. Do you think that the coaching change is going to affect the United next year?
Nah, because with the people we got in place, with the money we got, we're gonna get a world-class coach. We might be able to get a coach that's just as good, if not even better than Tata. I mean, we really expect a big name that's had some worldwide success.
I've seen a lot of teams that are at the top of their game but do have a coaching change and it affects them negatively. So again, obviously Daric and I don't follow the United as much as you do, so that's why I was kind of curious as to what you thought. Should be interesting, to see them next year. But I agree with you. Having a good owner makes all the difference in the world. It's not like he's going to the bottom of the barrel to find some up and coming guy. You're going to get someone that's known. We'll probably have a similar coaching style to what they saw this year, because I can't imagine that they're going to want to change things up drastically. So, all right. The Atlanta Braves have some spending money this year. Finally, we're getting a lot of salary off the book. And Mr. Bryce Harper is available in free agency. Buy or sell Bryce Harper in a Braves uniform? Go ahead, Daric.
I mean, coming from a non-Atlanta Braves fan, I'm going to say buy. I think it will be good for them to bring in a big name like that to add on to their already young talent. And I think it can help them, but I think Phil needs to talk about this one a little bit. Put me on game.
I'm definitely buying. The Atlanta Braves, I mean, you got the great phenom in Ronald Acuna Jr. You got the steady vet in Freddie Freeman. You got the young guy in Ozzie Albies. And you can add just an absolute power monster hitter to that. I mean, this team could be, I don't want to say World Series favorites, but you're going to be right up there with like Boston, New York, Houston, LA. You're going to be right up there in that conversation for 100 wins next year.
Well, I'm being the biggest Braves fan out of all of us. I'm a massive buy. I mean, there's people that I think can change a game in one swing. I love Freddie Freeman. That's my guy, but he's not that guy to me that has that one swing changeability. And I think that's because he doesn't have the protection like a guy like Bryce Harper could bring to this team. If Bryce Harper were to come to this team, Freddie Freeman would be the MVP, I think, next year. It just makes that much of a difference. And you can slide him into the 4 spot. You figure last year and the year before, we put in Nick Markakis in the number 4 slot, which is, cleanup is usually, typically your second most power hitter, but your guy that's about to get the most RBIs. And, we've had Nick Markakis in there who's averaged 20 home runs and about 80 RBIs. So definitely not bringing the power numbers that Bryce Harper can bring. I mean, my three big things are filling that outfield spot, which I'd like to see with him. I'd like to see them trade some of that young pitching that they have to the Marlins for JT Realmuto. I'd really like to see a franchise catcher, because I think having a catcher like him that could throw out base runners will really help our young pitching. And the fact that we walked as many people as we did this year with the 2 catchers we had show to me that they aren't as good defensively. And then I'd like to see them pick up Patrick Corbin as a pitcher. And then he's the guy that could slide into the number 2 spot in the rotation. I really think Bolte's got a chance to be the number 1 guy for a long time coming, but we really drop off from 1 down to 3 or 4. We got a bunch of really good young guys that are 3, 4, 5s. Tehran is a 3, 4, 5 guy. We don't have that number 1 and 2 solid. And when it comes time for the playoffs, you got to have a 1-2 combo to be able to compete with any of these teams coming up, because that with the free agency names coming in, Machado, Bryce Harper, that the Yankees are going to go fishing, and they got the money to do it, and they're going to improve next year. You saw what Boston did, where they just ran through everybody. The Astros aren't going anywhere for a while, so the American League is pretty stacked. The National League's wide open, so I think that the Braves are to the point now where the rebuild is over. Now you got to go get the free agencies if you want to compete. Next year, it'll be interesting to see if we don't get those impact players. how many fans we're going to lose that we brought on board this year that are tired of the rebuilding part of things. And this, this actually relates to the Hawks too. You can only rebuild for so long before you got to start bringing in an impact piece to, one or two off free agency to show that you're wanting to move to that next level. Or else you start losing the fan base, and it doesn't work out. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see what the Braves do in this off season. So, but yeah, I'm definitely on buying Bryce Harper as well. All right, Mike Budenholzer, man, the Bucks are 7-0. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm not shocked. I mean, that to me is the most surprising story of the year so far in the NBA. Phil, are you buying or selling Budenholzer and the Bucks?
Absolutely buying it. I've said it for a while. Even when Bo was our coach, I was like, man, imagine Milwaukee with Mike Budenholzer. That was a dream fit. I really like it. I really like what he can do for Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's a dream fit. It wouldn't surprise me to see them. Everyone's talking about Philly, Boston, Toronto. Watch out for Milwaukee to be in that Eastern Conference Finals.
What you think, Daric? Buy or sell?
I'm definitely buying. I mean, Budenholzer, that's a perfect fit for him. I mean, he needed to get out of this rebuilding stage. He's not a rebuilding coach. He needs to go for a winning team, and his system is so good he can make a team better. And the Bucks filled in pieces like Ilyasova and stuff like that to fit perfect with their scheme. The rookie from Villanova, he fits well. Mm-hmm. I think they're a top 3 team in the East right now. And they will be at the end of the season.
I'm going to buy with you guys. I think that, as surprised as I am, I agree with the both of you where they found a coach that he has found, the perfect fit of players for the system that he wanted to bring in. Giannis, even after last year, I think Giannis looks better this year than he looked last year. And man, he was a beast last year until he ran into a little bit of injuries. So, I'm interested to see where they go. I don't know that they're a 1 or a 2, but I'd definitely buy them as a 3 in the East.
Yeah, I give them a 3. I'm putting them over the Sixers.
Yeah. Sixers to me, I just still they have all this talent, but got to put the talent together. Obviously, I think I like Boston. I think that they to me are looking like the number one coming out of the East. But I've definitely been shocked by the Bucks. And Phil said he's not a rebuilding coach, and so he needed to get out of that situation where he can mix young talent with his love for playing the vets, and he's got some quality vets there. As to where here he never really had the quality vets. He never, him and Dennis never could get it together.
He never had a star.
Well, look, but I mean, when he did have his stars, we went to the Eastern Conference Finals, but that's
Hold up. Who's the star? Who is the star?
Well, I mean, to me, I don't want to say that they're stars, but I mean Horford and what's his face? They it's hard to say, they were stars here, but would they be stars outside of here? Obviously not. You've seen how they've disappeared off the radar the minute they left here, but they were solid enough vets for him to play where he didn't have to pencil in a really young guy. Dennis wasn't running the point then. So, he wasn't really playing Dennis off top. So that's when I kind of got the idea in my head that he wasn't going to be on board with, playing Dennis. And at that time, Dennis was going to be the future. And so he's who I wanted to see out there until he actually got out there and started passing the ball. And then I didn't want him out there anymore. But so it's good. It's good to see him succeed. I'm more excited though for Pierce here with a young team than I am for Budenholzer in Milwaukee. So, all right, let's end since it is Halloween today. That means lots and lots of candy going out tonight. Always a topic of debate is candy corn. So buy or sell candy corn, Daric?
Throw it away. Sell it. Don't even sell it. Just throw it away.
Oh, what'd you think, Phil?
Burn it. Put it in the bonfire and burn
it. Candy corn is the worst thing I've ever ate in my entire life. I don't get how people like that. I mean, I'd rather eat vegetables, and I weigh 350 pounds than eat candy corn. No, man. The aftertaste that stuff leaves in my mouth after I've ate it. No way. So I'm all for selling. So. All right, so that's going to do it for everything today. Let's do some ending shout-outs. Go ahead, Phil. Who do you want to shout out?
Shout out all of y'all, all of my guys at HQ, all the hard work half of y'all are doing. All the hard work y'all are doing. Shout out Game Time Radio, my dudes, Ty, Uncle Marcus, Peter Beckford, our good old sponsor, and everybody who supported us there, and the opportunity that has given us at HQ. We really appreciate that.
Phil, tell them what time they can see the radio show and where they can find it.
Sure, definitely check us out, gtradio1100.com. We're live on the air, actual radio, 1100 a.m. Sundays at 6 o'clock. You can also catch us, if I could talk. You could also catch us on Facebook Live, and our replays are on there. They're on YouTube. They're on iTunes. We're everywhere. Just type in Game Time Radio, and you will find us. I promise.
All right, Daric, who you shouting out tonight, man?
I mean, everybody that just watches this, shout out y'all. And we definitely are taking advice of what we need to do better for the next one in the future. And like Phil said, shout out Game Time Radio. I really like what they're doing there, and it's a fun listen every week. Every Sunday I listen in, and it's just a fun listen to listen to. So y'all make sure to check that out.
All right, I'm going to shout out you two. We did this this is our first time together. I've really been preaching to Phil that, this is something, media content is such a huge thing for the ATL Sports HQ banner, something that we need to get going. One thing I really want to think is, when you see this on YouTube, like, subscribe, give us feedback. What can we do better to keep you listening to our podcast every single week? I also want to shout out Game Time Radio. They've really done big things for us. Gave us, some promotion, which is desperately needed. And it's a really enjoyable sports talk show. I mean, it's an hour of, good fun. I've gotten to be a part of it and gotten to experience it live firsthand. And, I really, really, truly enjoyed it. So that's my shout out. So one thing I do want to mention before we go, though, is we want to have a name change for our podcast. As Atlanta Sports HQ Live, blah, 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 boring to me. I want a cool name. So what we're looking for on Twitter, ATL Sports HQ, is give us an idea for a name of our podcast. And what we'll do is we'll go through, we'll pick the best one, and we're going to throw you into a Game Time Radio t-shirt for picking us a new name, So, again, shout us out, ATL Sports HQ on Twitter. Let us know what you think a cool name would be. Try to keep it PG, please. We are a podcast. So
PG-13.
But, again, we just want to thank you all for listening to the ATL Sports HQ Live podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.